There are almost 200 official countries in the world today, but there are dozens more breakaway states, determined to be separate, but officially not recognised. Some survive peacefully with their own borders, money and presidents, but others are a magnet for terrorists and weapon smuggling, and have armies ready for a fight. Welcome to places that don't exist. "100 years ago, Muslim Azerbaijan used to supply half the world's oil. In recent years, Western oil firms have invested vast sums here. But officially, Azerbaijan is still at war with neighbouring Armenia. My guide Tural took me to see the front line. When the Soviet Union broke up, Azerbaijan and Armenia got their independence. But a small mountainous area called Nagorno-Karabakh triggered war. Stalin had given it to Azerbaijan, but historically it had been mainly Armenian Christian. So when it wanted to break away and become independent, Armenia sent troops in and helped the Karabakh army push the Azeris out.
Going up towards the hills here, which overlook the front line positions.
Ahead were the front-line trenches between Azerbaijan and the breakaway state of Nagorno-Karabakh.
To get from here to this trench, we've got to cross some open ground. So we're going to do it a little bit quickly. The front line here is still very dangerous. There's been people killed regularly, and there was a guy killed here just last weekend.
The biggest threat here is from snipers firing from Nagorno-Karabakh.
A sniper could shoot you here, within range.
Okay, maybe I'll come down a bit then.
We're about 1.5 kilometers away, so a sniper could reach us easily.
Tural's family come from land now occupied by Karabakh soldiers. They were forced to leave when the conflict started in the late 80s.
How do you feel being so close to the front line?
I have a temptation here, being so close to my native land. The sense of revenge is growing in me.
A desire for vengeance.
I have a desire to get my land back by any means. And if a warfare is one of the powerful means, is one of the real means to get that land back, I'm completely ready to fight for the freedom of my homeland.
We left the front line and headed back into Azerbaijan.
We just stopped at a kebab shop by the side of the road, and it's run by some men originally from Nagorno-Karabakh, and hopefully they're going to feed us. Salam alaikum.
The owners of the restaurant were refugees, forced to flee their homeland a decade ago. They said they'd witnessed Armenian atrocities.
Well, it smells good, which is a good sign. Can you give me some examples of what you claim the Armenians were doing to the Azeris living in Nagorno-Karabakh?
They put children, women and elderly people together inside a pipe and welded it. Then they rolled those pipes down from the mountains. We've seen many savage actions by the Armenians. We've seen everything with our own eyes, what kind of torture our sisters, our daughters, our mothers were put through. I can't describe it all. It makes me angry and I want to explode. We've seen them being beheaded.
Then they suddenly asked us to stop filming.
We chatted to the owners of the kebab shop for a little bit, but then they got a bit nervous. And so they've said, why don't you go and have some food, because They felt a bit tense talking to us. There's a lot of concern, even amongst refugees, about talking about Nagorno-Karabakh because it's such a contentious issue. Even now, more than 10 years after the conflict is supposed to have ended. It turns out the owners of the restaurant weren't quite as worried about the political nature of the questions we were asking. What they were actually worried about was because several years ago, this place used to be a cafe slash brothel almost, and there was a news report on Azeri TV revealing this, and then we turned up with our cameras and they started to wonder if we were doing the same thing. So we've got here some lamb and also some natural yogurt. I might leave that. Thank you very much for the performance. It was very unexpected. Do you know any songs about Karabakh, about Nagorno-Karabakh?
There are many songs about Karabakh. Karabakh is our heart, our land. I promised myself not to sing about Karabakh until we return to that land. We can't sing songs about Karabakh because when you sing about Karabakh, tears come to your eyes, your heart aches. I promised myself to sing a song on the day we return to our land.
Almost all the Azeris living in Nagorno-Karabakh were forced to leave during the war and found shelter wherever they could in Azerbaijan.
There's between 750,000 and perhaps 1 million people in Azerbaijan who are refugees from the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and we've come here to some railway sidings where there's dozens of families living in railway carriages. What are the conditions like for you here?
There's no electricity. There's no water. There's no heating.
You know, children's voices coming from these carriages.
There's a school here.
Is this the school?
One of the schools.
Oh. Can we have a look?
And there are lessons there.
Children study here in unheated railway carriages with hardly any equipment or books.
How long have you been living here?
We came from Agdam in 1993.
Do you remember leaving Nagorno-Karabakh? Does anybody here remember Nagorno-Karabakh? Nobody does. Everybody's grown up here,
Right.
in these railway carriages.
The younger generation might not remember life in Karabakh, but memories of the war are everywhere in Azerbaijan.
We just spotted these signs on the hillside over here. On the left it says, "Remember Karabakh." And on the right, "I will give my life for the motherland." So no one's going to forget about Nagorno-Karabakh around here.
Everyone we met in Azerbaijan talked about Karabakh. We'd been invited to meet Aygan Kasimova, Azerbaijan's #1 pop star. She regularly sings about Karabakh.
Assalamu alaikum. Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
And we've come to watch we've come to watch you singing.
My English very, very bad.
Ah, well, my Azeri much worse. What will you be doing today?
Then
We are recording my song called Vatan Motherland, and they're filming me.
It's combat equipment that you're wearing, and you've got bullets here.
I can shoot with an AK-47 and rather well.
So,
I fought in Zangilan and Gubatli for a month in 1993.
So you actually fought in the Karabakh War? So I think we're going to be allowed to stay in here while she sings. I hope she's not going to ask me for a duet.
tutup ruhların harayı. Virane kalabilir yurt sarayı. Ahımdan bir seda göğe ucalır. Vatan dardadır o kömeye çağırır. Milyonlar ses verer benim sesime. Bir karış torpak vermerik hiç kime. Yiğitler yurdu adını taşıyar.
How have your experiences affected your singing and the songs that you sing?
Sırf bence mesela
Every time I sing, I close my eyes and all I can imagine is Karabakh.
gözümün önüne Karabakh gelir. Ona göre de
We are facing this horrible problem. Every time singers like me sing songs, all we can think of is Karabakh. Karabakh stands in front of our eyes. That's all we can think of.
Yani Karabakh, yine de Karabakh.
Azerbaijan's border with breakaway Nagorno-Karabakh is closed, so to get there we had to take a huge detour. We drove over the mountains into neighbouring Georgia and on into Armenia.
It's a little bit chilly out there.
Armenia supports Karabakh, and it's the only country from which you can enter the breakaway state. Eventually we got through and met our Karabakh guide, David.
Oh. We've been travelling quite a while, but now we've got to the crucial point. David, what does this say?
Free Artsakh welcomes you.
And that means exactly what?
Exactly that. Artsakh is Nagorno-Armenian name for Karabakh, and Free Artsakh welcomes you.
We're in Nagorno-Karabakh?
Yeah, that's right.
The capital of Karabakh is the small town of Stepanakert. During Soviet communist times, it was a provincial Azeri town under Muslim control. Now the only people here are Christian Karabakians with ties to Armenia. Although the Christians won the most recent conflict, they feel they've suffered in the past. Armenians accuse their Muslim neighbours of killing millions of them in recent centuries. It means Armenians and the people of Karabakh fear new conflict, and even students at the local university must be prepared.
I'm not going to attack anybody. I'm just preparing myself to defend my motherland.
Did you lose any relatives during the conflict?
My cousin.
Was he fighting, or was he defending, or was he just a civilian?
He was a civilian.
This is no boot camp. These are teachers who are training to pass on the techniques of war to a younger generation.
At school, all pupils must have military training for 3 years. And we have to train the teachers who run the course.
This is the main market in Stepanakert. We're going to see if we can get any souvenirs and just see what's on sale.
Because Karabakh cannot trade with Azerbaijan, most of the goods have to come over the mountains from the Armenian capital, Yerevan.
Where are these ones from? From Yerevan. So they've come over the mountains as well. So this is a traditional Karabakh dish. What's in this, the bread here, David?
More than 35 types of herb.
This is Armenian money. This is 1,000, which is roughly a pound. So I'm going to pay 200 for our piece of bread here, our herb bread. Very tasty.
During the war, Stepanakert saw heavy fighting when it was besieged by the Azerbaijan army.
So the Azeris had their guns up here?
They had their guns, they have special type of machine, car which launched missiles. And actually, you know that it's like on palm of your hand, so you can even target individual houses, individual streets. There were even snipers who could shoot nearby houses. Over there is my home.
What was it like for you? Were you coming under constant bombardment?
Well, it was terrible. For example, in our building, around 14 missiles hit our building.
Hey, just your building?
Just my building.
The Azeri stronghold of Shushe bore the brunt of the Armenian counterattack. The Azeris fled when the city fell, and much of it now lies in ruins.
During the war, every single building was a kind of fortress, and severe fighting took place here.
What happened to the people who were living here?
Actually, civilian population left Shushi before it was taken by Armenian forces, by Karabakhi forces. So only military personnel was here. No civilian from Shushi suffered because Karabakhi army left a corridor for them. So they left to Lachin, from Lachin to Baku.
The truth of what happened here is hotly disputed by both sides, but thousands of Azeris clearly fled in fear of their lives. The Karabakh authorities are quite happy with us showing this sort of devastation because it's the area from which the Azeris bombed Stepanakert during the war, but they're refusing to allow us to see villages that were Azeri before the conflict and were completely destroyed by the Armenian forces. The population was forced to leave or left of its own accord, and they're very worried about the image it creates of the conflict and the image it creates of Karabakh. Some international observers have said that the Karabakhian authorities have destroyed Azeri villages deliberately to prevent anybody returning, so there's no chance of people from Azerbaijan coming back. In the centre of the city stands an Azeri mosque, one of few reminders of the past. Oh, it's an empty shell. The authorities in Karabakh say they're protecting this mosque, preventing anybody from damaging it. It's quite miraculous that it's still standing given the level of the ferocity of the fighting and the hatred between both sides, but the fact remains this mosque is in a Christian Karabakh town and there's no Muslims left who can worship here. Both sides suffered during the war. This city is now home to Armenian refugees who left Azerbaijan during the fighting, along with their children. For kids who live around here, this is their playground. We've been invited to a wedding, so we're just going to go to the carpet shop and try and find the bride and groom a present. David, what's this picture of?
This is a picture of Gandzasar, one of the most important spiritual centers in Nagorno-Karabakh. And it's very common to depict, symbols of Karabakh on carpets.
Some carpets serve as reminders of the war.
What is that? It's a rocket-propelled grenade, I think.
Yeah, again,
a machine gun over here. Tank here. Anti-aircraft guns here. Another tank here. What does it say here?
They say that you have to be powerful to have rights.
You fight from a position of strength.
Yeah.
I've got my carpet. I'm going to give as a gift. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Before the wedding, we left the capital for a couple of days and headed out to the country.
We've left Stepanakert and driven north through Nagorno-Karabakh, heading towards an area where there's some demining going on, trying to get rid of some anti-personnel and landmines that have been left over from the conflict.
The demining operation is run by the Halo Trust, a British-based charity which works around the world.
I don't know how you operate in these. You get used to it. You get used to it.
How many hours will people have to work wearing this?
The deminers do 7 shifts of 45 minutes each, depending on the weather. Today's a great day, brilliant day for demining. It's not too hot. In the summer it gets very hot, but today's a great day for demining.
I love the way you say that. It's a lovely sunny day. Let's go to a minefield. Have you seen the pigs going in?
Pigs, cattle, dogs, we've got no control on where they go. And a lot of the accidents have happened to animals. So what we do is we stop all demining. As soon as an animal goes into the area, we stop demining, move away from the area, try and get the animals out, or wait till they've actually left the minefield.
The farmers also follow their cattle and livestock into minefields?
Yeah, they do.
So you found a mine here?
This one here in Russian says PMN2. PMN2 is a Russian anti-personnel mine.
Nasty?
Very.
So it's just been sitting here, or the mine that was here was just sitting here for 10 years, just waiting to find a victim?
Yeah. Yeah. And as you can see, I mean, if you look to your left-hand side, we've got a football pitch where the kids have been playing. And this is one of the areas where we had an accident, one of the human accidents occurred here.
Is it safe for us to walk up to the line here?
As far as the red sticks, yeah.
You've cleared where we're standing now?
We've cleared. We have cleared. So this is a cleared area. Everything behind these red sticks is an uncleared area. We found one mine by the tree there already. You see the yellow stick.
There's a man walking through the minefield. What are they doing? Just ask her to stop there. Can you stop there? Do you realise you're walking in a minefield?
Yes, I understood.
Why do you walk in the minefield?
А почему вы гуляете через минное поле?
No. Go back. So she could detonate a mine now, possibly killing herself.
Yeah.
Doesn't this make your guys angry?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We say the same thing every day, and it's the same response. I have to come here, I'm busy, I need to do my job.
Do you know you're walking through a minefield? It's very dangerous where you are. That's why we're all wearing these jackets. Please, if you come over here, there could be mines here. Oh. Despite landmines and wars, the people of Nagorno-Karabakh say there's something special about this area which encourages a long life. They claim that if Nagorno-Karabakh was recognised as an independent country, it would have the highest rate of longevity in the world. Few outsiders have been able to check the claim because of the threat of conflict. But to illustrate the point, David suggested we stop at a graveyard. Yeah, look at these two. This couple, well, the first one lived from 1877 to 1975.
78.
Is that 78?
Yeah.
So 101, and then 1880 to 1975.
Yeah.
So both of them were nearly 100. Look at there's a photo, a picture of them just there. David was saying that he found a grave here once indicating that the person lived to be 136 years old, so we're just trying to find it now. So that's 120, that person. This one, 1822 to 1937.
Yeah.
115.
The man lived 100 years, 1875, 1975. And the woman, 1885. Till now she's alive, the wife.
She can't be still alive.
Wow, come on. As I told you, Nagorno-Karabakh occupied the first place in former Soviet Union by number of people aging 100 and more years old. First place in former Soviet Union.
Do you seriously think that the wife could still be alive? She would nearly be 120 years old.
Yeah.
But you think she could be alive?
Yeah.
People from all over Nagorno-Karabakh are buried here. So even if she was alive, she could be anywhere. The Karabakh army agreed to take us to see their front line with Azerbaijan. There was destruction everywhere. Hundreds of homes owned by Azeris lie in ruins. We weren't allowed to tour these villages, but filmed them as we went past. We arrived at trenches opposite Azerbaijan army positions, like those we'd been in many days earlier.
This is the start of the trench. These trenches are much more professionally made than ones we saw elsewhere. There's points all along here where you can take bricks out of the wall and then see what's happening on the other side. I've just pulled quite a large stone out. And I've just realised I've left quite a large gap here, but I think we're at a distance in which it would be quite hard for a sniper to get us. Actually, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe I'm not going to take the risk. I'll pop it back like that.
The bunkers are manned round the clock by young conscripts watching the opposing trenches. Their officers told us they expect an Azeri attack at any time.
They're, what, 150, 200 metres away, maybe? You can clearly see trenches, fortifications. I can see a little bit of movement as well. How old are you?
20.
20, and how old are you?
18.
18. Do you ever see any Azeri soldiers moving around on the other side?
We can see them moving, but we can't tell how old they are. It's too far away.
You can see here, there's a little calendar that's been scrawled up on as graffiti by one of the soldiers who's started serving in 2003 and is serving till 2005.
Yeah.
And they're halfway through now, they're colouring it in as they go. It's taken us many days to get from the Azeri side of this border all the way round to the Karabakh side. And on the way we've heard so many stories from people about how they've suffered and what happened to them during the conflict. And you are left feeling that there's no natural end to this conflict. It feels as if it could go on for many years to come.
We left the front line and returned to the capital for the wedding, but when we arrived to give our carpet, things weren't going to plan.
The electricity's failed, so they've got candles on the tables. We can see there's scores of people here. I don't know how they're going to have the wedding by candlelight. Imagine how the bride and the groom must be feeling. The biggest day of their lives.
When the lights went on, it was seen as a good omen for Marineh, the bride, and Alexander, her groom. But few are optimistic about the future of their country. Nagorno-Karabakh says it wants to remain independent, but Azerbaijan has vowed to take it back. Neither side looks ready to compromise.